Okay, good. We're live. Okay. Um, change some stuff in the layout. So usually when I'm doing the stream, I've got 4 monitors going and a couple of different controls. So usually the main OBS is on this screen, and then I have the audio controls, so like the FL Studio with the mastering, with the ozone, and Uline loudest meters. All of the level control is on this screen here. And then I have 2 other screens, this little one here, and then another small one that's usually here that's not here right now because I'm going to be working using this space. This screen, there's usually a screen here that's in a portrait layout that I use for moderation. So the moderation is on that screen. And then this screen contains a bunch of console windows for scripts and stuff. And then a couple of different control surfaces. There's the keyboard, which I used to use for switching, but is error prone. So you probably can't see very clearly, but there are these labels here, and these labels have numbers on them. And basically, each one is mapped to a number, and then I can hit a button and reload that indexed scene. But it's easy for me to miss. I have to keep track of where I am on the screen, and then if I hit the wrong one, then I reload the wrong scene or switch to the wrong one. And these keys are not super nice for using as keys. And then I've got the mixer board here, the Nano Control 2, which is pretty nice. I have it multiplexed, so this channel hits channels 1, 9, and 17, 2, 10, and 18, all the way up to 8, 16, and 24, so that I can control 24 inputs. And then each of these buttons down here, there's 3 per fader. Each of those will mute one of the channels. So the top one will mute 8, the middle one mutes 16, the bottom one mutes 64, right? And this moves in groups of 8 at a time. I'm retiring the use of the keyboard, right, the piano keyboard for for scene switching and RTMP media source reloading with this here. This is the DDJ-XP1, which I found used for a decent price. The XP1 has some interesting capabilities, and which I'll probably go over later. But I had to figure out a way to mount all of this. I notice that there is a table here, and I actually want to get rid of this table. And I installed 2 extra arms. One arm is above and to the right of the screen, which is slightly off screen. And then another one is over here. You'll notice that this is not connected to anything, just here for show, because I need to mount something onto this so that I can, I need to put a tray on this so that the XP1 doesn't completely fall off, right? So there's an arm sticky here. This is a VESA arm. It's mounted to the wall. There's 2 studs back there. And this kind of then can creep over the keyboard, and it's got some articulation. And then when I'm really using this setup, right, because right now I'm mostly open here for the keyboard, right? I can slide this forward slightly, right? And this gives me better access to the faders, and then this floats over the keyboard underneath. I can still reach all the keys. I can't see all the keys, which is not a big deal if I'm just typing away into chat. But if I need to hit like F12 or something, right? I can't easily like where's F12? It's somewhere down there. So this slight amount of articulation makes a big difference, right? Because here now I can hit all like home and print and the delete buttons. Move this forward slightly. I've got better access to this, and then I can type. And this guy here should be able to float wherever I want. And most importantly, previously I had in the last couple of streams I've been using the XP1 instead of the keyboard to switch scenes and to reload. With the XP1 over here, I have to look, right? The one of the big benefits of the XP1 is there's RGB lighting underneath each one of these pads. And so I have enhanced the MIDI interface so that I can use different colors to indicate what have I touched before, what was the last thing that I touched. Because we normally, when we progress through a sequence of scenes, of performers, right? We start with performer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we work our way down a program. And that light up of what I've hit so far and what was the last scene that I was on helps prevent errors. So you see that, okay, I've loaded up to here, and then obviously the next one is going to be the next dark one after the lit one, right? And if I had to switch to a scene that has a common layout, like an announcement, or the scene that has all the performers on it, that's on this button here, I'll know where I was, right? Similarly, sometimes I have announcements over here on scene 15, and if this is lit up because I went to it, then I'll know that, okay, this is scene 15. It's not this one, not this one, not this one. I don't have to count my way up. Because there's 16 buttons here, but there's all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So it's not exactly, this is not scene 16, and this is scene 15. Another useful thing about this keyboard is it actually lets me access a lot of scenes, because each one of these, when I hit one of these mode buttons, it actually advances up the scale on the same channel. Which means when I'm on, say, pad FX1, this ends up being, these are mapped to notes in MIDI. So this is note 0 through note 16, right? Which is like 0 is like C0, lowest octave C. And then semitones up. When I hit here, then this guy is then 17, right? This guy is 30. But in any case, I get 4 banks of 16, right? So I get up to 32 real fast, right? And can get a total of address a total of 64 channels. And there's memory, or rather, it remembers the lighting setup, because switching banks here is behavior that's in the microcontroller. So if I lit up a bunch of keys, if I switch over to AddFX1, those keys will dim and I'll be in that second group, right? 17 through 32. And when I switch back to hot queue, the first bank from 1 through 16 or 0 through 15, right? The lights will come back on and restore that state. And I don't have to deal with this in code, which is pretty convenient. But I've got to get this over here. The plan is to switch over to the computer view. The plan is to create to cut out of a 1/4-inch acrylic this very simple tray. Underneath the XP1, there's actually a good number of pads, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And these are pretty sticky. On acrylic, they'll be pretty grippy. So even this is at an angle, there'll be no problem with it sliding around. And so I have a layout here that's got the slightly, right, about 1/2 centimeter of extended space along each side, the outline of the XP1, along with the 100 millimeter VESA mounting space. I just double check this. This is 100 millimeter spacing, and then I'm going to have it float slightly in front. It's not going to be exactly in the middle. So this is the rough design, or this is the design with the centering. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make an adjustment here. Let's say I don't want this to be 40. I want this to be 50, a little bit closer to the center finished sketch, right? So I made an update. And now I need to generate the SVG. And I'm doing this entirely within Fusion 360. So we switch over to the manufacture tab, and this is the CAM tab. So if I were, say, CNC milling, this is where I would specify, okay, I've got a 3-dimensional shape, and what kind of cuts do I want to take to mill out a 3D shape from stock. And this lets you model then things that won't actually be that aren't actually part of your part. You can model the stock, and then you can simulate different kinds of cuts. This process here is a bit more complicated than 3D printing because you need to you don't just have the program do everything. You have to plan for, like, what's my strategy for taking cuts so that I get the surface finishes that I want on the important surfaces and not crash the tool and other things. But this is for laser cutting. And so for laser cutting, what this is useful for is to separate, if I need different settings on different parts, engraving on some part, different cuts on different parts, or if I don't want to cut everything, if I have things like construction lines or other things, I mean, it's not going to cut the construction lines by default, but if I want to do things in a particular order, then I can use this CAM setup to generate that. So I've got my setup here. This is my laser cut setup, and I have the Glowforge post-processor set up as a machine. There's a whole process there for downloading the post-processor and loading it in here that I won't go through. But there is a post-processor in Autodesk's list of post-processors there for the Glowforge that'll output an SVG. And then I've created two operations. First operation is the hole cuts, and the way I specify this is you go to the geometry, right? And I can redo this. I'm going to say, okay, for this particular operation, which features within the sketch do I want this operation to represent? I'm going to select then the 1, 2, 3, 4 holes. If I wanted to cut on this, I could select it, right? You can see where it's going to go, but obviously I don't want to cut on that construction line. So I've got 4 contours selected here. And if this were a like a real CAM process, it does store like, okay, what's the order? And I could specify, no, I want to do this hole first, right? And then this hole, and then this hole. But actually, these things won't matter because this is going to output an SVG. The Glowforge will decide the ordering of the cuts within an operation, but the operations will be ordered. And the same thing for the border cut. This geometry I selected was this outer geometry. And of course, because this outer geometry is going to cut it out, you want to cut the holes first, and then cut the borders, and the part could shift once it gets cut through. And then I defined this previously with the 40mm offset, and then I can regenerate this guy, and now I've got the 50mm offset. So I've got my cam set up, and I've got these two operations, and then I can generate and post-process, right? And this is going to generate the SVG for the Glowforge. So I've got the output folder set to my pictures folder. This is not really G code, so I don't. This number actually doesn't matter, or I think it goes into the file. So let's leave it at 1001. Let me post this, and then I'll overwrite the existing XP1 VESA.svg. All right. So what does this look like then? So let's go over into my pictures and open up this SVG file. Did I make a mistake? Yes, I had only one operation selected. All right, so I can export the operation separately. I made a mistake here. I only had the border cutting operation selected instead of the whole setup. So that was a mistake. Let me go back and, oh yeah, right. You can see here I have border cut selected. I actually want to generate not the border cut, but I want to generate or post-process the whole setup. So let me do this again. Replace the existing file. Come over to that SVG, same file name, right? So reload it, and here are the parts, right? If we take a look at the SVG source, this is pretty simple, but what we'll see is that we picked up a bunch of the metadata that was in the operation. And Glowforge can read some of this, not all of it, but they will come up distinctly as two separate parts. So I've got the whole cuts here, and then I've got the border cut and the listing, right? This is operation 1 of 2, operation 2 of 2. This is text, right? So I'll make it a little bit bigger. And then the locations. And then it also sets like different colors for these, so Glowforge will pick them up separately. So let me head over to the Glowforge now. And let me exit out of this. So this old XP1 VESA is outdated. So let me delete it, create a new design, upload from file. I'm going to upload that. So it's being arranged into groups, blah, 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 right? And now we've got the pieces here. So we've got the first piece, which is the holes, and then the second operation, which is the border. Now I was just doing the camera calibration, so there's a piece of draft board in there. And the QR code isn't showing. So I've got unknown. So let me head over to the actual Glowforge now and actually put a piece of acrylic in. All right, got a big chunky piece of acrylic in here now. Okay. Let's come back to the computer. Glowforge is scanning. All right. Thick acrylic. So I want both of these set to cut, and these are in the proof grade cut. And then where do I want to put this? I don't have much choice. It's too wide, right? How wide is this? A little more than 13 inches right now. Now we've got switched to inches. It's a little bit more than 13 inches wide, so I'm not going to be able to flip it on its side. And so it's going to have to be, it's going to have to leave all of this excess here. I guess I'll try to get it down as close to the edge as possible. Actually, I want to do set focus. So let's just set the focus to be here. Design details. All right, no instructions. Switch over to centimeters just to be sure. I think that's right. Zoom in a little. Okay, let's make sure that my cuts are on. Yes, in theory they are. Okay. Okay, ready, right? Proof grade cut, thick clear acrylic. Let's print. Okay, push the magic button. Time to push the magic button. Okay, bigger view of this. I see 1/4 inch is pretty slow. I don't have much of this 1/4 inch stuff, so I hope I don't have to redo. That would be bad. Okay. Let's get this out. Start with, alright, so that is cut through. Let's get the okay. For the moment. All right. Here is push out these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So these holes And 4 screws bought today. They do fit. Oops. That was stupid. They do fit, but I need to countersink them. Otherwise, they will stick up. For that, sink fit. I'm gonna need a drill. Right. Drill, safety glasses. Prop these up off the table. Okay. All right, that's working. How deep do I need to go? Am I there? Yeah, I'm there. All right, not very deep. Deep enough? Yes, that is deep enough. If not, once I get rid of the film, I can check again. I think that's good. Good enough. Get rid of this top film. Ooh, shiny acrylic. Now, sadly, Corey was eager to describe. But I am below the surface. And that's pretty grippy. Ooh, shiny. Right. So let's get this over here. Get these screws in. And then okay. I want these like I want to accidentally over tighten these. Really light duty pliers. Uh, okay. I think that is tight enough. So shiny. Of course, there isn't enough weight on this to actually have the hold position. Let's put this guy on. All right, so that's, the arm is set to minimum tension. Which seems about right. Yep. And then safely sit here. Got this guy. A little bit of interference. It's better pulled out this far. All right. Can't quite push it all the way back because I can't. And I have to. All right, so if this is out of the way, then I can push this down and push that back. And then the keyboard area is clear. And I still have access to most of what I need. Some of the knobs on this keyboard stick up. So you have to be a bit low in order to get clearance. If I wanted this way out here, I could. Probably don't need it this far forward. And then go down a little bit. There we go. So these levels are just about right. Got clearance here. I've got clearance here. This is pretty far forward. because then I've got control over the faders here. And then this gives me access to the pads, load button. All right. What's going on here? Tilted the monitor. Whoops. That's pretty firm. I like the slight tilt here. Could even tilt it more. Where's the tilt? Why is it so tight? Oh, could tilt it more, but then it takes a little bit too much horizontal height. And the tilt is not smooth enough for me to want to change this a whole lot. Yay, that was pretty quick. One final look at this thing. Interesting. Oh. Yeah, so that's pretty good grip. So shiny. Okay, that's it. All done. Takes time to clean up, which is of course boring.